Hello friends and welcome. I'm Sarah Liz and I have a fun card project for you today featuring a new die set designed by my friend Lynn over at LV Handcrafted. It is this fantastic Snowglobe shaker light up card. So this is the die set from Not Too Shabby shop. It's called the Ultimate Snowglobe Shaker. It has dies for a small snow globe, a large snow globe. You have a snowy hill, a house, a tree, a snowflake, a reindeer, an ornament topper, and then there's this little die that will cut out some sentiments. There's even a stamp set that goes with it because it's slightly curved. If you've ever tried to stamp a sentiment onto a snow globe, let me tell you friends, I'm very excited about that one. This card is part of a collaboration hop between Pear Blossom Press and Not Too Shabby. So in the description box below, I will leave a link to the playlist if you want to go see everybody else's cards and any information you need to enter the giveaway. So I cut the tree out. It's actually on like a horizon line, if that makes sense, the tree and the house. But I just cut it off of there and used a marker to marker in the tree trunk and that same brown for the antlers of our reindeer or our deer, and then a lighter brown for the hooves and the tail. The tail felt dark, so I'm going to come in with an acrylic paint pen and just do like a little white tuft on there as well. I've been trying to go through my paper stash better this year instead of buying a ton of extra. And I have been hoarding these two pieces of paper for a long time. Neither was a complete 6x6 anymore. I'm not even sure where they came from. I've had them for 10 years maybe. I have cut the first to 1 inch by 5.5. And then this larger piece is just the rest of our A2. So 3.25 by 5.5. Then I'm bringing in all the dies that will make our snow globe. I'm trying to figure out the placement because I need to cut a hole in this front panel to create my shaker. Or if you were going to do a halo light instead, we're not. We're using a one light from Pear Blossom. Then I would also need that hole for the one light. So once I get sort of the placement, I've eyeballed everything, and we'll use an emergency sentiment at the bottom. That's one of my freebie sentiments. I'm going to tape the smallest circle die to that panel and run it through my die cutting machine. I took my panel and laid it over my card base and I traced that circle. If I was going to use a halo light, I would need that circle, and I was afraid my one light plan might not work. So I was just covering all my bases. Here I have a scrap piece of paper where I've used that same die to cut out a circle, and then I have a piece of light blue cardstock, and I'm going to create the little scene that goes in my shaker, but that circle cutout is just sort of helping me visualize the space that it will take up and what I want my scene to look like. So I'm going to have my little reindeer overlapping my tree a little bit. When I glue these down, I want to make sure I have plenty of glue. Otherwise, I'll get shaker bits kind of stuck behind that. So I'll pick them up with my tweezers, and I'm being, again, pretty careful to get glue to the edges, and then I'll just tap it on the back of my hand, and I'm kind of smooshing it around, right? Trying to get the glue to the edges. You'll see it even more here where we have these tiny, skinny little pieces for the hooves, for the antlers. I want that glue all over. This is the method that I like. If you don't want to tap it on the back of your hand, you certainly could use a silicone craft mat or just a piece of scratch paper. I'm going to do a light at the top of our tree, and so I am poking a hole right above my tree using my wax pickup tool. It's got a pokey end on it, and then I grabbed just a star die cut from my stash. I was making some Christmas cards the other day. This was sitting on my desk. I thought actually at first I was going to use an embellishment, something that was a little clearer, but it doesn't end up mattering. You can see the light beautifully through that silver foil paper just fine. So this is the original one light. You buy just that one light by itself, and I'm going to put it back there and I'm going to push the button, and that would work fine, except that the layout of my card makes it difficult to put that button somewhere that isn't behind the shaker. So we'll switch it later. It's fine. And then I'm bringing in this little plastic pouch. It's a flat top but slightly raised pouch from Pear Blossom Press. And I am using the Snow Day confetti from Trinity Stamps. I put some on the card, and then there's adhesive around the outside edges. It's super user-friendly, and I will just place that right over the top of my scene. I'm adding glue all over, a little bit on that plastic as well. I want to make sure I have good adhesion. I have trimmed off any excess. of the paper so it's not sticking out from behind my card. And then I will press this behind there, and I'm going around the edges of that circle. It is a little bit of a snug fit, but I prefer that over having like a weird gap. So just press it firmly with your thumb or your forefinger and it will work fine. I'm going to put the circle of my snow globe. So I took the two smallest circle dies and cut them at the same time. This is the frame it created. And I'm tucking them into the slot onto the small snow globe base. But then I'm going to trim that piece that's behind it a little bit. Okay. It pops up a bit behind the globe itself. If you weren't creating a shaker, that would add extra stability. But because I'm making a shaker, I don't want to see that. Then I'm going to add glue all over the frame and onto the base of my snow globe. The stamps we have will fit on the small snow globe, or at least one or two of them will, but they weren't the sentiments that I wanted. So I'm actually leaving the sentiment off of the snow globe, and we'll put a sentiment below it, but I'm just sort of pressing all over right now and trying to get everything into place. I'm being careful to grab any extra glue that oozes out with my finger so it doesn't end up on my acetate. So here's a different version of the One Light. This is the one that comes in the Halo Light combo pack. The Halo Light is a circle of lights, and it would fit perfectly around that little shaker. I am placing this where it needs to go, and I am just tracing around the outside of it. A lot of times I will install my lights upside down so that I can more easily get to the battery and replace that battery if it wears down. So that's what I'm attempting to do now, where it's not going to work. You'll see why, but this is how I do it. Once I traced around it, I lined up the light, put some tape on it, and then I lined up my card base and my front card panel so I could pick up that light with the card base and traced around it again. I want to create an emergency exit for my battery. So I traced a little line to help me know where I want to score. And then I'm just guessing. I'm bringing this to my scoreboard and just sort of pressing down until I feel a groove. And I am scoring until I hit right below and right above where that light is going to be. Then I come in with my scissors up until I meet that score line, and now I have a flap. That's how I'm going to get to the battery. Here, I'm just double checking, right? I actually had installed the battery. It's not going to work. I'm going to have to pull that out. But this lets me sort of trace around that emergency exit door. So when I add my foam tape, I know where it can go and where it can't. I don't want it inside of those little tick marks I made, or I'm going to end up taping that door shut. This is the world's best foam tape from Pear Blossom. It's repositionable for 30 minutes. I needed that several times on this card, as you will see. I also have one piece of foam tape that's in the wrong spot. So the piece of foam tape that's just to the right of the light is going to create a shadow that I don't want. So let's do some testing and we'll figure this out. I'm removing all of that release paper, and once I get that off, I will bring in my card base and I'm going to line those up together. And actually, I was so proud of myself, you guys. I got it lined up perfectly the first time, right? And then I go and I press the button, and do you see that on the left? There is a stark line created that's blocking the light. That's the foam tape. That's the foam tape. It's a problem. And I'm getting weird shadows kind of under the light as well because I installed it upside down. 90% of the time, installing it upside down doesn't really matter. It just did because of the way I want that light to shine in this particular scene. You can see how easy it was to peel that apart because I'm within that 30-minute repositionable window. And I am going to flip my battery pack over. So I have some low-tack tape. I'm laying it where the battery goes. I have new double-sided tape, but notice I have not removed that piece of foam tape that's a problem yet. I have just tried to correct the issue with the battery being upside down. I'm getting great shine now below the tree around that star, but I am again peeling things back, and I will just pull out that middle piece of foam tape. There is not a single other brand of foam tape where I could have done that. Not a single one. So I left that in for you instead of sort of simplifying the make of this card. I'm actually going to leave that low tack tape there because it will hold that door shut. I have the battery that swings all the way open on the door. Heck, the battery and the light, which is amazing. And then on the front of my card, I have added a 2.5 by 1.5 inch navy piece of cardstock. That's going to be the mat for our emergency sentiment. And I have the thinnest little strip of matching cardstock, and I put some clear glitter pen on that. I felt like the card was a little unbalanced, a little heavy on the right-hand side. So I wanted an accent of that darker color right between my two pattern papers. And I think that helps sort of create a more balanced visual for us. So I am just putting the bead of glue directly onto the card base, and then I'll add the strip of cardstock, and I'll trim off the excess with my scissors. A lot of times I don't stamp the word push onto the front of my card because it sort of interrupts the scene, but I didn't really want to add an embellishment that would mark the spot. So I have a little piece of low tack tape marking right next to where I need to stamp the word push, and then I'm feeling brave. I am channeling my inner Carrie Rhodes, my good friend here on YouTube, who regularly stamps on basically finished cards without her Misty. I did a practice stamp, and then I'm using pigment ink, and I will press down, and I'm just holding it, right? This is double time. So I held that for 4 or 5 seconds, and actually I got a perfect impression. Here I have the Sweet Holiday Sentiments. It's a freebie printable that came out last year on my channel. I will link to that video below if you want to find out how to get these. But this one says Merry Christmas and Season's Greetings. They were already mostly cut out. I just needed the one horizontal cut. I'm going to add this on there with some removable adhesive in case I want to change the sentiment to something a little sassier later. And then that finishes our card, my friends. Be sure to check out the collaboration playlist below and enter to win the giveaway. Thank you all so much for spending your time with me, and I will see you next time.